Okay, this is lesson 39 for 8th grade, and today we're talking about circumference. Circumference always deals with circles. Circumference is just a fancy word for perimeter, but we only use circumference when we're talking circles. Remember though that perimeter means distance around something, so now we're talking the distance around a circle. This will come into play for geometry, trigonometry, all that good stuff. I'll kind of explain where it came from. Alright, so we all know what a circle is. It's a very basic shape, but very hard shape to draw unless we have one of these things right here. But we kind of talk about the parts of a circle. And so if we swing the compass around its pivot point and we trace, we get a circle. Every point on that circle is the same distance from the center. So any point on this circle would be the same distance away from this center point. Kind of like this. And that's what we're going to talk about first, is our radius. The distance to the center, from the center to a point on the circle. So radius is distance from the center to any point on the circle. Could be here to here, here to here, here to here. Doesn't matter. The radius will be the same. And the radius is half of our diameter. Okay, so we can see that in this diagram here. So two radii, if we take a radius and a radius, add those together, we get our diameter. Diameter is the distance across the circle through its center. Okay, so this isn't our only diameter. You have a diameter here, you have one here, here, as long as we have a segment that goes through the center and connects the 2 points on the circle. Okay, so just thing to remember, radius is half your diameter, and then diameter is through the whole circle, but it has to go through the center point. And as I mentioned earlier, the distance around our circle is circumference. And as you might have guessed, we're going to use these things to help us find circumference. The circumference of a circle is about 3.14 or 3 1/7 diameters. But these numbers are approximations of a special constant. So a circumference is exactly pi diameter. So we've seen this before, pi, and usually we associate pi with 3.14. That is the approximation of pi. So pi is actually a lot more complex number than just 3.14, but usually we use 3.14 because it's just a nice approximation to use, and it helps us out. But basically how they even came up with circumference or pi is they figured that, okay, let's try to figure out about how many diameters will it take me to get my full distance around. So how many of these does it take to get my whole distance around a circle? And then what they found out was no matter what circle they used, they ended up getting about 3 diameters that would make up the whole distance around, or their circumference. So circumference divided by diameter, that's where pi comes from. Okay, so basically pi is how many diameters it takes to get around your circle, and that happens to be pi every time. So using this little equation, we can turn circumference in. We can figure out the distance around a circle by taking pi times diameter, or 2 pi times radius. These things are saying the same thing, even though they look different. Because remember, a radius is half of our diameter. So it takes 2 radii to make up 1 diameter. So basically it's pi times diameter, or it's 2 times pi times your radius. Okay? Here we go. That's kind of what I was talking about before. Multiplying by pi involves an approximation because pi is an irrational number. There is no decimal or fraction that exactly equals pi. And this book will use 2 commonly used approximations for pi. they're going to use 3.14 and 22 over 7. So if you do 22 divided by 7, you'll get something that's close to 3.14. Applications that require greater precision may use closer approximations to pi, such as 3.14159 for rough mental estimations, or to check the reasonableness of a calculation, we may use 3 for pi. We want to be careful and read the directions. They'll tell us what they want us to use. Okay? So if they ever want you to estimate, use 3. But for now, we're probably going to use one of these two approximations. Some of our calculators have a keystroke that actually says pi. That would be your most accurate display. If you want to use that, that's fine. My calculator has it, and I use it all the time. So that's okay if you want to use that pi button. But the most important part is that pi is irrational. It goes on forever.
Craig Weber, McKenna Rubin, and Haley Yankovic to the office, please. Craig Weber and McKenna Rubin to the office, please.
The decimal part goes on forever. It's 3.14159. It keeps going on forever. There's actually been contests to see who can remember the most numbers of pi. If that's something you're interested, let me know. Yeah, if you're interested in that, we can get a little competition going. Usually we wait around until March 14th for that. That's Pi Day, because 3, which would be March for the month, and the day 14. Kind of fun. We used to do it in high school, and it gets pretty competitive. Okay, so let's take a look at these real quick. First one here. The diameter of a truck wheel is 35 inches. About how far does the wheel roll in one turn? And here they want us to use 22 over 7 for pi. So the diameter of a truck wheel, remember circumference is pi times our diameter. So they want us to use 22 over 7 for pi. And we're just talking one turn. So one turn of a wheel will be just one revolution of the tire. Okay? So all we need is just our 35 inches. So 22 over 7 times 35. Now we've got fractions really being multiplied here. So if I change this, we'll do 22 over 7 times 35 over 1. Alright, so we use our approximation for pi. They told us to use 22 over 7 because this one makes it a little easier to use.
Just a reminder to 7th and 8th grade girls basketball players today, you need to be dismissed at a 3:05 for your game in Wanamingo. You'll be leaving at 3:15 today. So that's 7th and 8th grade girls basketball players. You are dismissed at 3:05.
Okay, sorry about that.
Craig Weber and McKenna Rubin to the office, please.
Alright. The reason they have us use 22 over 7 for pi this time is because we can do 7 and 35. We can cancel those out. So I know that 7 goes into 35 5 times, and 7 divided by 7 is 1. 22 times 5, 110 inches. So that would be what we're looking for that one. Alright, and we'll do this one last, so I gotta get going here. The fan belt on Fernando's car wraps around 2 circular pulleys. One pulley has a diameter of 8 centimeters, the other has a diameter of 12 centimeters. What is the ratio of the pulley's circumferences? Alright, well let's take a look at our first pulley. We know that circumference equals pi times diameter. And let's just, I'm going to go ahead and keep pi as pi this time, and you'll see why. Our diameter is 8. So I'm going to call this 8 times pi. Sorry about that. All I did was reverse the order that we multiply in. 8 times pi, okay? Second pulley. is pi times our other diameter was 12, which is 12 pi. Now here's why I left pi as pi this time. They want the ratio of the pulley circumferences. Well, let's do first over second. Ratio, remember, we can write as a fraction. So 8 pi over 12 pi. So that's 8 times pi, 12 times pi. We can just cancel these out right here. They're gone. It's basically like having 2 over 2. Pi over pi is 1, so they just cancel out. So now we can reduce this fraction. If we divide by 4, we get 3 over 4. That would be our ratio there. Alright, so we've got more to talk about this tomorrow, but that should be good for tonight.